All right, I'm here to play around some more with a project or a gem or a Ruby library called Graphiti. Now, what Graphiti does is it's a graph-based, um, data to JSON manager library, whatever you might call it. So it's an alternative to GraphQL, for example, specifically done in Rails, and it uses something called Json Api. And JSON API is actually a thing. It's not just an API using JSON. It's a JSON API that uses a specific format for the data that you send back to the server or send back from the server. And it interconnects to other objects using links, for example. You can have multiple objects going back and forth. You can select the fields that you want to send back and forth. There's built-in guidance for pagination and a bunch of other things. So, I have a few projects planned here that I want to build out, and I'm thinking, okay, you know what? I've been using JavaScript, TypeScript for a while. It'd be great if there was a JSON API library that, was smooth enough. Why not use GraphQL, you might say? I don't want to use it. I don't need it. Um, Also, I think what I like about JSON API is it gives me some standards, which don't really exist in the GraphQL world. You kind of have to build your own or sort of mimic what someone else is doing, which is fine. But again, it's not as streamlined as perhaps JSON API could be. The problem with JSON API is that it lost a lot of steam um, after GraphQL took off, really. Facebook comes in, says, hey, this is how you do it. Everyone says, I want my app to be as large as Facebook. This app this idea that I have, and I have to use GraphQL. And then it becomes popular. People build libraries around it. Facebook builds libraries and support around it. Now there's an entire ecosystem, which is great. I don't begrudge that in any way. It's just, it seems like a lot of complexity for just messing around. So, okay, fine. GraphQL. JSON API, you can see like even on this page, it's like, hey, this specification mark 2015. We're in 2022 now. The 1.1 spec is being talked about for a while. It's, I think there's some action behind it now, but so anyway, I look at these libraries. I'm like, okay, what's out there? And I go through each one of them to see if something is, comparable. I had used a library called Json API Resources when I was doing Rails 4 years ago. Json API Resources, which was really nice, mixed it with a bunch of other libraries or other gems, and it came out really well. Like it was great to be honest. And I thought, okay, you know what? If we can get something like that in in JavaScript, that'd be great. There isn't anything. Like, a lot of these projects have been abandoned. And again, like this page in a sense has been more or less not updated in a long time. So it didn't look great. I don't want to build out, like, I want to mess about with projects I have or ideas I have, even if they go nowhere. I don't really want to build out a JSON API 2 spec library in JavaScript. The closest thing was, I think it's pronounced Courier, and they've gone ahead and like, hey, we're following the 1.1 spec. Amazing. Uses Nick. And so I thought, okay, maybe I can play around with this. And I didn't really get into it. And I was like, back when I was assessing these libraries for Rails, I had come across Graphiti. And Graphiti seems to be updated more or less. There hasn't been like massive development changes. but it seems like it is functional. And I thought, okay, maybe I can play around with this and see how far I get. So that's kind of the preamble about this is, I haven't done Rails in many years. I thought, okay, let me see if I can play around with Rails. So before I actually get it, so what I want to do is actually, there is a tutorial. This side walks through Rails and how to set it up and how to do a bunch of things. I might not do the whole thing, maybe get to at least like maybe do step 5 has one. Many, like I care about polymorphic relationships quite a bit actually. But I want to, I think this is good enough for me getting started, like having a sense of what the project gives me, and maybe I can figure this out as I need it once I start building a particular app. And then to go through some, again, not all of this, and see whether there's some kind of abstraction we can find for basic sort of displaying of tables and objects and such. And that way we can just, just have like basic objects that are defined on the server side and, easily have like CRUD operations on them, more or less. So that's the goal. And honestly, I was missing active record. I think active record, as much as, people are like, oh, it's too much, it's too complicated, it's bloated, this and that. Just the speed of which you can do, or the speed you can get at with the capacity that it gives you is remarkable. So I thought, okay, let's get back into some of that. So I probably want to start quickly by, I should have done this before. I want formatting. And so I was using formatting Robocop here, but I think I want standard RB. And if someone can get standard RB, whoops, null ls, standard RB, and then I'll make sure that I have standard RB installed, and then we'll get going from there. Standard RB, what? Spelling, standard RB. There we go. I think that should be fine. And just update my Vim setup. And I think I have standard RB installed. Actually don't know what the, okay, so the command is standard RB. No, it doesn't seem like I have it installed. Let's do a few things here. So let's go back to my random directory and let's see the Ruby version that I have. It's this. I think I have Ruby 3 installed as well. RVM list. So let's see, RVM use default. Since I'm starting new, might as well just go with 3.1.1 by default. RVM list, Ruby -v. Great. Okay, so I got Ruby 3 set up here. Gem install Rails, standard RB, Solar Graph, which is, I think, LSP server for Ruby. What else? Sure, Robocop, why not? Let's just start off by installing a bunch of things, and then we can get started. Hopefully, let's see how it, we'll see how it pans out. No problem. This might be rocky, like I haven't done Rails in forever now. So it's asking us to start a Rails project using the API option, which excludes a bunch of views and sprockets or Webpack and all these other things, which is interesting because ultimately I do want to get Vite There's got to be a V-Rails gem somewhere. Okay, it seems like something is around here. So to be able to serve from one server would be nice. That way I don't have to have different projects, and just one deploy pattern would be great. Let me just take a look at this template. It's not even a thing. What? Oh, it's downloading a file. Boy. Okay. I'm just gonna get this file here and move it to template.rb, and now I think I should get, yeah. I actually don't know how these work. I'm assuming that at some point it's gonna do, okay, this, I guess is gonna run this code. Blah, 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 blah. It's gonna, what? How does this work? Gem group, gem, get init. Okay, these are commands. These are commands that will be run, and it will set up the Rails project. I just want to see if there's a sense of like, if this is specifically designed for older version of Rails. I'm not seeing anything particular. It's going to run like generate Graphiti install. So it's going to set us up essentially. Okay, cool. That's fine. I think I did run this command before at some point on my computer. So I think it should be fine. Okay, ta-da. Okay, so there's also installation from scratch. But let's go with this. Let's see if any issues come along the way, and then we'll figure that out. Okay, it's asking me what the default sort of endpoint for the API will be. Sure, I'm going to go with the default here, and it's installing. And it's telling me, hey, look at all these files. I'm laughing because I haven't been in this file forever. Like, I'm not sure if I'll. Oh, there's an error. I'm not sure if I know my way around a Rails application. A lot of it will be muscle memory. I think Rails 4 point something or Rails early version 5 is probably what I was using back when I was doing Rails. I probably should have gone with the guides or something, but essentially there are models in Rails, and Rails gives us by default. So let's go into this actually. So here it's telling me that it's added these files in a Git repo, and these are the diffs that the Graphiti template has given us. So I'm gonna just git commit this. Initial Rails project. And then these are the changes that the Graphiti project has made. And again, there was an issue somewhere. File unchanged is applied value flag not found. And this happens after inserting this. I'm going to leave it as is, and maybe I can come back to this later if it causes an error. We'll see. Okay. I probably don't need these for now. Okay. So yeah, Rails will get you set up with a application record, which is kind of this parent that all your other models will extend. And then you can, put stuff here, and it will essentially, what will it do? It will, all the rest of your models will get that. And so this is something similar where you have a mirror of your models as resources, and these become JSON API resources essentially. So that's what Graphiti has created for us. It's this. It's doing a bunch of things, explaining what it's doing. Seems like some setup, adapter definition, server definition, and so forth. Okay, and app controller. Yep, it's made this so that because we use the API flag, we have API here, and then, okay, fantastic. This gets respond with working via the responders gem. So I wonder if responders, yeah, so they've installed responders. I'm getting a bunch of errors here. Sorry, I don't know whether to set this up. So let me see. LSB. I actually do. You know, I like what the LSB gives us. So this is null ls being hooked up here. And I think seems like I have Sorbet and Solar Graph set up. But I think by default, Solar Graph uses I think by default Solar Graph uses it uses Robocop, and Robocop comes with all these like preference for single quotes. Who cares? And do I really want to like modify all of these things every time I come into these files? Not really. And you'll notice that there's these other things, right? Where, let's say, for example, there's these spaces here, and there are errors where it says, okay, not preferred, and so forth. And when I save this file, my auto formatting kicks in that I have set up in Vim using standard RB, and it doesn't change the quotes. So it seems like standard RB doesn't care about the quotes. But my diagnostics are running through Robocop, default Robocop. And so we're going to get this mess every time I'm in all these files, and it's not going to be corrected. So let me fix that. And how do I do that? Solar Graph standard RB. Okay, so it wants me to uninstall Robocop. All versions, please. Yeah. Yeah, get rid of everything. Okay. Add this to your jump file, it says. Okay. Let's do that. I think we're gonna need it in development. So let's just do that here. Bundle. Or I can install it globally. So let's do that as well. Why not? Why not? Add SolarGraph to your project's solargraph.yaml. Okay. SolarGraph. I think SolarGraph generates this for us. Guides, demo, let's see if I can get the GitHub. Okay, add SolarGraph, it says to development. So let's do that as well. Oh, wow. Chain surrounding quotes to single quotes. So well, I mean, not that. It's and when I save it's so it seems like standard doesn't care at all about these like oh. Huh? Seems like I copied some things by mistake, but it seems like no, okay. For some reason I just messed up the file by pasting something up here by mistake. But okay, this seems fine. Configuration. Solar graph gives me a bunch of options. How do I, like, what's a standard solar graph? Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm just scanning here. So it's a solar graph config, create or override a default. Configuration. So I'm in my directory here. Solar graph. Whoops, config. Solar graph bundle says it's going to generate. Before I do this, or before I get into too much of this, I just want to do a commit for the stuff that was added by Graphiti. So all these things, sure, the gem file, like the extra gems I added will be in there. Okay, fine. Application, just this one line, config application. So this is configuration. Here it seems for the URL. I wonder why that's even necessary. Okay, so routes, there's some scope set up in routes, and Vandal has been installed, and Vandal seemingly is the, I'm not going to go through these are just deleted files, so let's just add them. And then say Graphiti initialize, words, what are words? And then let's take a look at, let's take a look at the solar graph file. Again, this is kind of what happens. It's just like you try and, I just want to build stuff, but I do have to do this setup work. Oh man, I hope this isn't really too complicated. So I'm going to replace this plugins here with this. Great, my formatter works on YAML as well. Amazing. And reporters are standard RB. And I'm just gonna retain required not found. And then I guess I just pop back into my project. That's too bad. Diagnostics reporter standard RB does not exist. Seems like it exists. And does it run? Yeah, seems like it runs. Look at that. What am I doing? I've installed it. I've installed it globally. I've installed it locally. Let's try that again. And it says diagnostics reporter standard RB does not exist. Solar graph. So let's see if there's something I can search right away for this. Uninstalled all versions of standard, reinstalled this plugin. From there, I was able to find standard with no issue. So maybe there's multiple standards that I might have installed before. So gem uninstall standard RB. No, there's just one. That's weird. Gem install standard RB. I think I unintentionally installed a gem called B. Okay. Okay, so that wasn't it. Require standard inherit gem. Testable standard usage via Robocop. Okay. Okay. It seems like I might just be able to have a .robocop file with this in it. And then in my Solar Graph, I think I can just undo that. Do I need this? Let me leave that in and see what happens, and if it still doesn't work, I'll come back. Okay, seems to have worked, and no changes on this file. So what I'll quickly do is I'll do a standard rb-fix. I saw that in the help run, and it seems like it's made a bunch of changes. And some suggestions on what to do here. But I'm not too worried about those. And I'll just, I'll quickly take a look to see what's up. Yeah, again, just some quote stuff. But at least it's not like going through and changing too much right off the bat. It has opinions on, okay, just mostly quotes. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. More quotes. Okay, no problem. Yeah, I'm just going to add the whole thing and say, oh, no, I want to add the whole thing. And then adding standard RB config. Okay. I don't need to quit Vim. I don't know why I did that, but I think I'm set up now. That was helpful. Okay. Back to Graphiti. Okay. All right, so it's an employees project. I think I can go into TMX now. That way I can have split windows, be in Vim up here, and let's see. It wants me to generate these models in DB migrate. Database YAML, yep. Okay, I'm set up with SQLite because in my configure, like when we initialize with the template, I didn't pass in any database thing. I'm happy with this. We might run into some issues when we migrate because I might not have things installed, no problem. And so here we're just creating a model with first name, last name, and age. I haven't even started my Rails server yet. Okay, and let's do Rails DB migrate. I wonder if autocomplete works. Nope. On the command line. Okay, it seems to have migrated, and I think it would have created a file development.sqlite. And it's get ignored, which is great. And now it wants me to create, maybe I can make this a bit larger. It wants me to create a seeds file and get set up. So seeds, it's already there and it's empty really. And we'll just copy this as is. And what this is doing is it's deleting any employees if they exist, and then creating 100 employees with random ages, first and last names. Okay. Wonder if this has any opinions. No. Okay. Great. And then I can do that by Rails DBC. This is great because I had forgotten a lot of these. DB migrate, DB seed. I wonder if we'll, using things like factory bot, this, that, and the other. I am super curious, so I'm gonna start my Rails server and just see if this, this works. Slash API. No, I don't know why that happened. Okay, so it's serving the default landing page. Okay, so now we're going to generate a Graphiti resource. And again, like we defined specifics here on like first name, last name, integer, we're going to do the same here, which will generate this employee resource. And this defines what we want, the attributes that we want in our JSON API response. And the reason why we need to duplicate that, and we don't want to just infer it based on the database fields, is because we might not want everything in the database to be exposed via the API. Okay, and it is asking us to start Rails here to test this this thing. Okay, yeah, let me see if I can just use the terminal inside here and pick this up. I wonder what happens to the server. Does it, because it does nothing. I could just have that running in the background. It's telling me it's generated these spec files. It's generated so these tests, and it's at, okay, let's take a look. It's created an employees controller, and this is just a default Rails controller with just responds with, and then JSON API updates on any of the actions, but responds with for any of the get type. Setup in Rails has these defaults for CRUD. I got a difference to my config routes .rb, and it's just added a resources employee here. That's the only difference there. And then employee resource, yeah, which is just this right here, straight up. And that should be enough for us to see what's happening here. And this is great. Let me add a JSON Chrome extension. What's this? It's not view. It's just like something called view, last updated 2021, JSON formatter. Seems to be loved by many. Let's take a chance. And okay, so we're getting some formatting here, and we have data. These are 100 employees. Or, oh, okay, just 20 employees by default, it seems. So it seems like pagination, even though they didn't give us any pagination data. And then, okay, I guess hopefully we'll learn how to paginate. Okay, cool. So by default, it's giving us this data thing here, which is JSON API's format, but we can have just basic JSON by typing in .json. No, I thought we could. That's what it says here. You can find a payload of a little less intimidating by adding .json, but doesn't seem like that's available. And then XML, which is available. Okay, wow. Who uses this? Okay, it seems like instead of employees, it's just saying data, but the rest seems to be JSON versus, let's actually just open a new thing here, which is employees. Yeah. I mean, I didn't notice this before, but ID type, attributes, whereas this is a bit more simplified JSON that you might expect as a JSON payload. Great. Like, I mean, apart from me talking and all that, this is great. Like, without a lot of work, we have our basic API, and for the most part, it's ready to rumble, really. Let me just add all this. Okay, and then it's asking us to play around with the attributes. So for example, I can pass in a block here and say object dot first name dot uppercase and do something like this and come back here, and this should be uppercase, it says, which it is. So oh, okay, it works in the JSON. It's not like this, you know, like it just works everywhere. So it seems like JSON API is, or the Graphiti gem is making that resource available in multiple formats versus defaulting to Rails's own output somehow. Okay, and let's just take a closer look at employee controller. And something I kind of missed here is typically if we were using the Rails model, it would be employee.all, employee.find. In this case, it's employee resource. And then the respond with, I assume, is taking care of different formats. That's amazing. Okay, and we can define how we want the resources, whether they're read-only, write-only, both, whatever. And, okay, look at this. So we get a bunch of different... So I'm just going to undo the uppercase change. It says, hey, you could do a bunch of things here. So, for example, come down here, and I can sort by first name. So this is Gladys Renato. But when I sort by first name, I get Abby, Adrian, so forth. Right off the bat, look at all this functionality. I can sort reverse by adding a negative or a dash or whatever up here. So Young, Yang, so on. What else? Okay, we can limit the fields. Now this is something that the GraphQL folks would be like, okay, you know, I don't want the entire payload. No problem. Here it is. A limited payload because we've, you know, you tell it what fields you want. Okay. Search. So filter on first name. Okay, I guess nobody starts with Bob. Does anyone start with Bob? Abby. I remember seeing an Abby, so we can search by default. Look at all this functionality, even though we've done no coding, really. Just generate a bunch of files. So this is case insensitive, sensitive, prefix. So you could say prefix B. So just for everything that starts with B, let's just, you know what? Just so I have some filter first name prefix. Cool. I wonder if this is like JSON API spec. To spec or not, I wonder. What else? Suffix, prefix, contains. Amazing. Filter on age. So I can say age is 39. Hit me up. Nobody. Somebody's got to be 40, right? Remarkable. This is amazing. Greater than, less than, greater than, equal, less than, and paginate. Here we are. Pagination. Let's see if, okay, metadata still doesn't want to give us metadata. It's like, how do I know? How do I know how many pages there are? How do I know how many, whatever? So we set page size 10, page number 3, 5 per page, third page as well. There's no indication of page size here. Is it implying that 5 is default? Doesn't seem like it. Seems like 20 is the default. Okay. So it's saying, okay, so it's saying, hey, you can make sure your writing stuff is working. And it seems like what is generated here is different from what we have here. So we have let payload, but before that, it seems like the code here has let params. And there's some attributes for that is that we have here. Okay. So it seems like they've done some extra work by defining some of that for us instead of being like, hey, your attributes go here. And it seems like there's some, okay. I wonder what that does. Before we run the specs, so it does use factory bot. Factory employees, I must have seen that somewhere. And it's saying, hey, let's hook up Faker. So let's do that. Faker name, first name, and last name. Okay. And what is this? Okay, that's fine. And look how beautiful Ruby is. Like, I think that's 2 dots. Look how beautiful it is. I want a random thing between 20 and 80. Voila. I'm jumping over the place here. I used to use something called Jazz Fingers, Jazz Hands, which would install pry and oh, there it is. Okay, great. It's been updated in 2021, so well over a year. Pry is gone. Oh, subdomains are, so it's pry.io. So this is how not up to date that gems links are. 26 days ago, so pry seems to be in development. Really, what does Jazz Fingers do for us again? It is giving us pry, it's giving us cool line, and it's giving us amazing print. Okay. But since this hasn't been updated in quite a while, I wonder whether these are like much older versions, which we could probably just install by ourselves, which I might do in a second. And then if I can remember how to use pry. Okay, so we were here and it's asking us to fix this up. And now we can run our spec and allegedly things should be happy. Okay, seems like the tests have run, but there's some skipped things like pending. So update model for the employee spec, although there's nothing really to do there, and then resources rights spec. Let's quickly take a look at update spec, which I think this might cover later on. Okay. So here's your attributes. So create spec, they've got it taken care of, but it seems like in the update spec, they don't, and we can just update certain attributes here and then check if they get updated here. Okay. Nexus has many, so maybe we can just do this little bit here. Just creating an employee in our test database. It is then going to, okay, the whole thing is about making a request, and it's using Json Api put. So I guess there's some Json Api helpers. I'm gonna run Solar Graph bundle, which I saw in the in the docs, and I wonder if that will show documentation help for a bunch of these things. So this might take a bit of time. So we'll come back to this in a second, and then let's just take a preview at the has many step. And so here we're going to add a position. So employees, an employee has many positions. So we'll define that. And look how beautiful this is. Like, that's all I need to do. I'm done. The connections are done. And I generally don't understand how this is not like all the rage. And like why people in the JavaScript community love just writing code. Okay, so I did a bundle thing, and I wonder if this will now give me some kind of no. No help. Okay, well, I'm not gonna get into that too much. I don't know how to use Graph and have the documentation pop up here, and so I'll figure that out later. Okay, let's quickly go back here and maybe we can just play around with this spec here. And what I'll do is I'll give it a first name attribute, and I'll just the first name here. To change. So it is reloading here, which means that maybe here I can just test if employee. So I don't have to necessarily get the last employee, because here it is creating an employee and populating that object for us. And then this object is getting reloaded here. So this should work. Okay, our spec. No, it seems like the update spec has not run. Employees update spec API v1 skip with zit. What is this? Hold on. Oh, okay, exit. It updates after adding attributes. Okay, that makes sense. That's sensible. Now there's 2 pending, and it seems like our update spec passed. And I guess as we add attributes, we ought to just test that they're being updated. So I'm just going to go ahead and test all these. Why not? No, that's not it. I'm wondering why my auto formatter hasn't picked up on like, hey, they don't seem to be, I generally don't know if this is like appropriate code now, because does a hash in Ruby have, it's got to have commas at the end, right? This can't be legitimate code. But I don't have a diagnostic to run. I'm assuming this will fail because, yeah, I don't know. Okay. So now that's working. There are commas. That's interesting. I wonder if there are commas there somewhere that don't get copied. Okay. And I haven't really tested that, so let's. Last name is Doe, and age is 30. I'm not going to update all the specs here. I'm getting a sense of what this is, so I'll just commit what we have here. Public API schema.json. When did this get generated? And do I commit this? I will commit this. I don't know when that got generated. And so here we just updated the spec and we updated the factory. Okay, I'm probably not going to run tests moving forward, but this was nice. Okay, maybe I'll spend, 20 or so more minutes here. Okay, so let's test out has many. I'm going to generate this, and we're saying belongs to here, so defining that relationship. Wonderful, and this is just default Rails. And let me just get out of here, and let's live here. Okay, sorry, I'm just super distracted here. The output here is interesting. There's some debug output, and it's telling us, giving us some information here about what it's running. Cool. Whoops. So it's telling us, hey, I'm running, employee resource.all. And, for these filters, I'm running, filter first name. Cool. That's really nice. So I want in my employee model to define, so now I have a position model as well, which belongs to employee. And here we want to define has many positions. Okay, and it wants us to update seeds. Really just turning this into an array. Calling delete all. I'm just going to copy paste this. Cool. And I can see it again. And it wants me to now generate. I got to migrate. I think I copied the command here, but didn't migrate. Get that seed. And we want to generate the Graphiti resource. I didn't even really take a good look at what is in position. Position has title, whether it's active or not, a historical index, because you can have multiple positions. Maybe it's just the order of the positions that you held, and the idea of an employees belong to. So if I take a look at create positions, here it tells me the details of like what it's creating and whether it's a foreign key or not, and so forth. I really did miss active record. Okay, so let's generate the resource. And the same way that we defined has many positions in our employee model, it's asking us to define that in our employee resource. I'm going to check up the position resource first. I'm just curious. So there isn't a like belongs to here like there is in the position model. So position model has a belongs to employee, which is not auto generated here, that we didn't indicate any belongs to in this generate command. So let's go ahead and add for employee resource. Let's go ahead and add as many positions. I don't know if that's the right positioning. Excuse the. And a corresponding filter so that we can filter by the. Okay, and so in position.resource, we're going to add resource. Okay, we're going to excuse me. We're going to add a filter on the employee ID and say tell it to expect integer. So now, so now there should be a position API link that filters based on the employee ID that we pass in. Oh, cool. Okay, so now if I come back to my employees, and let me just remove this so it's default, we'll see relationships. And these link us to the ID of the employee. So that's the filter that we're using. So when I click this, I expect to see positions for this employee. So click, and now there's 2 positions for this employee. Cool. That's amazing. So now we have, and not only that, but down here it's told us that, hey, you can grab by adding include positions to the URL. You can grab both the data for the employee and the data for their positions. Okay, sorry, I just the pause there is I would have expected the data for the positions to come through. It seems like that hasn't happened. So that when I click through here, it doesn't seem like title and active have come through here. And I wonder why that is, or whether that will be addressed somewhere. If you visit employees, blah, blah, blah. Okay, historical index. So we don't want to expose it through the API. It's only sortable. So we want to sort by historical index, but never return that value. I don't know why we would do that, but it seems like it's because we don't want people to know. And this means that, so there's 2 errors in the test. I'm not gonna continually update the test because I just want to get a sense of this working. So we do want to put a belongs to employee in the position resource. So now we have a belongs to has many connection. I wonder if that changes anything in the output of data here. It does not. Okay. Telling us here we can add sort of configurations of what the primary key or the keys would be, and that we could add some default filtering, it seems. But it doesn't seem like it's giving us the data, which I find weird because if I'm sideloading, as they might call it, I would have expected to see, so let me just see what the calls that are being made when I run, not that, when I run this. When I refresh here, so includes positions. So it's making 2 SQL calls and it's getting all the positions for these. So there's 2 calls being made on the resource level, all, and then all with this filter, which then triggers these database calls, I assume. Okay, I guess. I mean, I really would have expected to see data, but I'm also skimming this, so maybe there's some information here somewhere. Resource relationships guide, maybe that has a clue. And again, I won't spend too much time trying to figure it out, but so we can, filter by the, call employees, include positions, then filter by include deep relationships, has many positions, foreign key, resource, readable, writable. I wonder if, I mean, I would assume this is, okay, these are default, so I don't have to like, they're like, always includes resource IDs. I wonder what this does. Has many positions and always include resource IDs. No discernible difference that I see. Maybe when I go here. No discernible difference here either. Customizing scope. Assignment. Assign each. Okay. That's interesting. Has many. What was the one we looked at before? Also has many. Okay. Belongs to, has many, has one. Okay. Okay. Many to many. This is stuff can get pretty complicated. Filters and, you know, just in-depth filters. There's a lot of stuff here, but I don't see stuff on like, nothing that popped out that said, okay, you know, side posting, but not side loading. I mean, it did mention side loading before. Errors, okay, read on write, context, concurrency, and adapters. Let's go side loading. Single false. Okay, I don't know what that means. Okay, well, I guess we'll take a look at that later. So this is us adding position. What's all this state stuff? Okay, so just these are the new files and these are the modified files. I'm not going to go through each one. Adding positions. Yeah, I don't know why I'm quitting Vim again. Okay, I'm an hour in. How much more work is there? Not too much. I only wanted to get to has one, so I might be able to zip through if I don't get too distracted here. So let's go ahead and add a department. Okay, so there's different departments, and we're also adding a migration to position so that we can add department ID to positions. And look at this amazing thing where I just say add department ID to positions. In this migration, I ask it, hey, will you please let me do this? And it creates add department ID to positions. Oh, I thought it would have automatically included it, but maybe not anymore. I remember a time where it automatically did it. but I guess not. Let's see what version this was written for. 5.2, and we're at 7 here. Add department. I remember this in the past would have just generated that, but maybe not anymore. So let's migrate. Whoops, migrate. Add foreign key. Unknown column department ID. So it seems like it created departments, but add foreign key doesn't quite do what this might be expecting us to do. So really what we need to add is each position belongs, like, is part of a department. So we need to add a department ID to this before we add the foreign key, it seems. So add foreign key doesn't do both. So let's do that. Let's, in here, I don't remember. So these are creates, that's fine. So I should be able to, sorry, I'm just trying to think about this. Positions. So here I believe we belong to a department. I'm gonna say null true because we don't have. Okay, well, let's see what happens. It might just say, hey, your data is bad. Okay, I just copy pasted without really looking at it, but it seems like I need to indicate here that I'm altering the table, and I wonder if there is an alter table, if I recall, but this might just be wrong. Alter table. Yeah, I need to indicate which table I'm modifying. Some magic. And then let's see if that's good enough. If not, I'll go look up the documentation. Okay, so let's go. Change table. So there's up, down, creating a migration. So if I had said something like this, it would have parsed the rest of it. So it would have known to add whatever to products if I had included. And I wonder if the Graphiti documentation had that, and maybe I missed it. It didn't, so it was just add department ID to positions. And then there wasn't an indication of actually adding it. So let's just take a look here again. In this case, change, add column. Really what I want is add column. But maybe I can get away with change table as well, because then I can just do t.belongs to, and it will do the right thing, I believe. So we could do things like add, change column. What's nice here is that it automatically also generates the reverse. So let's see if there's a belongs to in this example. So I could have done this where, we said add department ID to positions, I could have done add department to positions and then done this. And this would have added that reference. Foreign key true, which implies that should be enough. I'm just thinking maybe this is what I should be doing. Let's see what this does, actually. I'm curious because we did change stuff. So I keep popping to Tmux instead of just staying in Vim. Yeah, the not null constraint fails here. So I wonder what happens if we did do something like this. So just go comment that out for now, and then add departments. So 2 positions. Add department, and this needs to go out here. And since foreign key is true, I don't think we need to do this, and I can actually just comment out that whole bit. And now run migrate. That seems to have done it. So add reference would be the thing to do. So it seems. Okay, well, I'm gonna go through that later because I am like genuinely curious, and I'm curious to see whether this is the appropriate change that we wanted. Hoping that I haven't reversed it, and I don't have a straightforward SQLite reader, so I guess I'll just have to get into the seeds file here and get rid of all of that. And come back here and seed. And if this works, then we know that it would have worked. If not, then foreign key constraint failed. And it won't tell us where, but it won't tell us what. So delete all didn't work. Delete all didn't work? Can I destroy all instead? For some reason, why is that? Oh. That just seems to be Vim's helper for each. Sorry, okay. It's just getting in my way, probably because I have my font size so large. A lot of things just get hidden, unfortunately. Okay. No, it doesn't like it at all. Foreign key constraint failed. Let's just test this. And if this doesn't work, I'll just delete my SQLite DB, recreate it, and kind of just try and run it from the start. Okay, and let's migrate. And this should generate it all the way from the start. And then let's try the seed. Even though I have it commented, at least this much should run. And if it doesn't, then I had my... Okay, so that seems to work. And maybe I can just undo that all the way to delete all. And seed again. Unknown attribute department for position. So we've done this, and we've done here, what have we done? We're passing in department into position. And I don't think in my position.rb I said, has one department. I feel like that's the relationship. Has one. No, nothing is just magic. Oh, where belongs to, so that is... Yeah. I think it probably expected this to do a lot more magic than it has done. So a position has one department. That's what it feels right, but it might be wrong based on where the actual thing lives. Okay, so now it seems like we also have to just add that belongs to the resource. But how did it? No, we don't have to do that because this is just okay. I should have probably read up on Rails before having done this. Okay, so it is a belongs to relationship, but not has one. Even though I would say, yeah, no, it is a belongs to. I wasn't thinking about it straight. Right, this position belongs to a department. This department has many positions. It's asking us to change the factory, to define the relationships, and do some work on the historical index after having created. Oh, no, that's not what this is. Okay. I think I'd read that before in a different relationship. Okay. Belongs to department. We need to add that to the position reference resource. Pause res. Belongs to department. My server is still running. And what happens when I visit an employee? Trace. Probably because I didn't generate the resource. That would be helpful, right? So I think the database seeding issue kind of threw me for a loop. But now when we come back here, this should be running. There's no indication of the relationship here because that relationship isn't between the employee and the department, though we should be able to say, hey, this employee is in this department based on their latest position. But we do see that here where it's department this, and then this is the department. So here we kind of have this like, it's like a graph in a sense where like things point to other things and there's relationships between objects. So we've added departments. Okay. So let me just commit that as it is. I won't look into anything. And adding departments. Although there was like a whole bunch of, up and down here. Customizing queries. Okay, so based on the historical index, we're trying to get. So here, okay, yeah, I can't see the historical index here, but presumably we've added that in the seeds. And so there is a historical index which indicates the positions. So here we're adding a scope to the models. Again, this is so amazing. We're adding a scope to our model saying, hey, there's a current position where historical index is 1. Okay, so that's the current position. And then we say that an employee has one current position. And I assume this goes here, although there's no indication here. They don't tell us which file, but I assume this is where it would go. And now we should be able to do something like employee joins current position and then order by the title, for example. So I should be able to do something like Rails console and paste this and get results as I have here, so that I have a bunch of employee objects that have come up as a result of this. I think I could do underscore. Oh, there's some auto completing here. Dot first. How come I don't have this in my? Oh yeah, because the code doesn't know. I don't have it in the code because the code is not typed. But the objects inside the console knows what the object is. First dot current position, I can say. And this, so I can't just keep doing this underscore business here. So let me just say employees, and then employees dot first dot current position. And this gives me my position. So based on my definitions here of the scope and then of the has one relationship, this query works. And now we want to add some of this stuff to the resource. So the title filter, because the title is on position, goes in the position resource. No, it depends on what we want to do. So if we want to say employee filter by title, even though title doesn't exist on the employee itself, we could create a filter on it, or even an attribute. So are we doing this? I'm mildly confused. Never display. So we're not going to display it, but we're going to make it filterable. Okay, that makes sense. I was confused as to how we would, so employee resource. I was a bit confused as to how we would, like display this attribute, because we're not doing like a do, something like, object dot current position dot title or what have you. So because we're not doing that, I was thinking, hey, how's it going to get it? But it's only filterable and sortable, which gives us this on employees URL. And so let me go ahead and make this sort work as well. So the sort says we get a scope and a direction, and the scope is, I guess, everything up to this point. If there were other, filters and other sorts and other whatever else, all of that would be combined into this active record query, which makes our scope. And then we are going to go ahead and join on current position and then merge title. So this is exactly what we ran in a Rails console. So now it's sortable, and let's make it filterable as well. And here we're defining an equal filter, which is the default filter. And same thing, you're joining on current position because of that relationship that we defined. And then we say we merge by where position.where title is this value. Cool. That is also remarkable. So nobody has a title of foo. So let me just figure out what somebody's title is. Marketing facilitator. Okay, like, I wonder if I could just, I can. So here is my marketing facilitator. Cool. Where are we? Right, we're advanced queries, so, you know, we're going around. How would we order employees by department name? We could start the same way by doing this, but we're only sorting. This is actually redundant. Whenever we use the sort or filter DSL, we're creating a sort only or filter only attribute under the hood. So we could just do this. So we can say sort department name. And here I haven't defined the type. So it's saying, oh, if you're just going to do one thing, you could just define the whole thing all at once. Okay, and so now I should be able to sort by department name. In the merge is on department instead of yeah, the merge is on department instead of position, but we're doing a joins current position and department because department current position belongs to department. Yeah, okay. So here it's telling us, hey, it's just active record, right? Don't worry, it's just active record. And it all just works. We're almost done here in terms of how much I wanted to have accomplished before going too far, although there's some questions I have which won't get resolved today. All right, and then we will okay, this is super short, so this should be pretty quick. Okay, we want to expose the current position relationship to the API. Okay, so it seems like they want us to, in the position scope, add a variable that will intake. And then here we'll define a clause. Okay. So we'll take the clause here, and this clause will be this. And then the response will be, if this is true, then it's a where clause, and otherwise it's a where.not clause. Oops. Okay, Ruby should know that this is a separate line. Okay, and that's an interesting. I would not have expected it to indent this way. I would have expected an indent like this. But okay, I guess it just now it persists like this. That's weird. I would have just expected one type of indent, but it's trying to respect the way I had it. Okay. Per step, we'll use the Params Block. Oh, wow. Okay, so, but then, I guess I have to change it in employee, right? In employee.rb. This should, is it assumed that this is, shouldn't this be something like false? Oh no, this should be true, right? It's the current position. False would be it's not the current position. I'm just thinking through this. So I have a position resource, pause s, and I don't have an indication of what is and isn't current here. Ah, but it is here. So this is position current. Yeah. I don't know how this would work. But let's see. Employee. I don't even know if this is right. Employee resource. And it wants me to add a filter, so let's do that at the end here. Or it's not a filter, it's a has one relationship, my bad, which I'll add here with the relationships. So has many positions, but has one current position, which is the position resource. And we want to filter current true on the position resource. Or is the I don't know. I actually don't know where the filter lives. Like, yeah. Ah, so the filter's here. Sorry, I don't read. So we have to define this filter in here. Scope dot current lives. So this filter would have to be on. See, like I think it would have been nice if they had like, oh, this is on the position resource, which I believe it is. Good old pause res, and adding that filter for current. And here that makes sense now that the scope is on current. Therefore it's this, and it would have been nice if they had given us a link so that we could have tested it, but I believe I should be able to do something like, I don't know if I left it here anywhere. I don't believe I did. No problem. Employees.includes equals current position. And it doesn't seem like I have a, it doesn't seem like it's included. It seems like it knows where to reference it, so it knows what it is, but it's not been sideloaded. Do I have to say include? Yeah, that was it. I had to say include. Oh, so was the other one include as well? Yeah, it was. Okay, my bad. So it's include, and that works. Again, no data. Again, would expect by default for that data to be present. And maybe it's a configuration somewhere. Okay, that's it. This is a file, has one. Customizing rights. So before the commit, we reorder on the position model. Every time there's a new position created, reorder the positions. But it seems like maybe this commit hook is lifecycle hooks, similar to callbacks. And so the hook lives on the resource itself, not on the objects. And I wonder why we would do this. So versus doing it on the model itself. And so unless we wanted the models to be fairly clean in terms of what we want to be able to do with them and kind of push all that logic into the resource. Is there a commit here? There is a before commit here. So I'm just looking into side loading every time because I'm like, maybe I'll find out why that side loading wasn't working as I would have expected it to. Fields. Fields. 2 seconds. 2 seconds. That's it. Resource endpoints. Fields. No. I'm trying to see whether customizing side loads. I wonder what happens when I visit Vandal. Nope, doesn't exist. What does exist is Vandal UI engine path, Vandal UI, or API 1 Vandal. Should be Vandal UI. No, Vandal UI. It is this. So the Vandal UI by default has these things here. So if I go on employees.show, I should be able to filter, sort, paginate, include certain fields and exclude certain fields, I guess. Submit. No, it wants specific, like it needs a filter. That's probably because it's one specific thing. If I go employees index, I should be able to submit and get results. So I want positions, submit, and now it's including positions. Although I don't see those here. Submit. Maybe if I click here, the positions are here, but the raw data. So let's just see how this interface deals with it for my own happiness. So if I submit, include positions, preview. Oh, geez, embarrassing. Okay, I'm glad I did that. So include positions is not in the data, it's actually down here. So the data will have the ID of the relationship and include it as down here. And the reason for this would be say two people held the same position, we only get one payload of that position here with the title and other things, and we don't have that duplicated in here. That's part of the JSON API design, and I had totally forgotten that. Okay, that's great. So I'm happy I did that. And so we are getting all the data in the side load. Everybody calm down, relax. You know, breathe. Okay, I'm done, I guess. That's it. That's all I wanted to really cover. And then I think the next time I could just start on the view thing, which is just a bunch of diffs. That should be fun. Okay, customizing rights, many to many. Okay, yeah, we're good. We're good here. I don't need to do this. I'll learn it the hard way later. All right, that's it for tonight, and I'm gonna try and we have a full-fledged API here, which is pretty cool. So I'm eager to learn how that gets integrated into Vue and what you know, what they have there. Cool. Delightful. I'll see you next time.